Imagine waking up one morning not knowing it's your last day alive. This is the reality for death row inmates in Japan. In the land of the rising sun, there exists a chilling fact about their capital punishment system. Picture this. You're a prisoner, living day by day in uncertainty, and then one morning you're told it's your last day to live. In Japan, prisoners who are sentenced to death are informed of their execution only on the morning it is to take place. There's no prior warning, no countdown, just a sudden, jarring revelation. But it doesn't stop there. The families of these prisoners, along with their legal representatives, are left in the dark until after the execution has occurred. They only come to know of their loved one's fate posthumously. Imagine the shock, the dread, the raw emotion that comes with such news. The general public, too, shares in this belated awareness, informed only after the execution has been carried out. It's a system shrouded in mystery and sudden finality, leaving no room for last-minute appeals or goodbyes. This shocking fact is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Japan's capital punishment system. Capital punishment in Japan dates back to as early as the 5th century. Over the centuries, the methods of execution have evolved, reflecting societal changes and shifting perspectives on justice and punishment. In the early stages of Japan's history, capital punishment involved a variety of methods, each carrying its own symbolic weight and societal significance. The method of execution was often chosen to match the severity of the crime and to serve as a deterrent to others. Then came the Edo period, a time of relative peace and stability from the 17th to the 19th century. During this era, a particularly severe method of execution was sawing. This method, as gruesome as it sounds, was more symbolic than practical. It served as a stern warning to those who dared to disrupt the societal order, but it was never actually used. Despite its inclusion in the legal framework, sawing was a mere formality, a relic of an era where the spectacle of punishment was part of the justice system. By 1871, Japan's approach to capital punishment began to evolve. The number of crimes punishable by death was significantly reduced, reflecting a shift towards a more measured approach to justice. The methods of execution were also limited to beheading or hanging. These changes marked an important shift in Japan's judicial system, as the country started to move away from the spectacle of public executions towards a more private and controlled form of punishment. These changes, however, did not signal the end of capital punishment in Japan. Far from it. Today, the death penalty remains a legal form of punishment in the country. It's primarily applied for aggravated murder, with 14 capital crimes listed in the Penal Code. Despite changes over the centuries, the death penalty remains a legal form of punishment in Japan. Today, executions in Japan follow guidelines established in the trial of Norio Nagayama. This landmark case, dating back to the late 20th century, set the precedent for capital punishment in Japan. Known as the Nagayama Standards, they consider the number of victims killed as the most crucial criterion for imposing a death sentence. The Nagayama Standards are not a simple numerical threshold. Instead, they involve a nuanced and complex consideration of the circumstances surrounding each case. Factors such as the brutality of the crime, its impact on the victims' families, and the offender's potential for rehabilitation are all taken into account. However, at the heart of the Nagayama Standards is the number of lives taken, reflecting the gravity of the crime and the irrevocable loss it represents. Once a death sentence is handed down, the process of execution in Japan is a highly regimented and solemn affair. The condemned are executed by long drop hanging, a method considered by some as a quick and humane form of capital punishment. There are 7 execution chambers spread across the country, each following the same stringent protocol. On the day of execution, the prisoner is informed only hours before the sentence is to be carried out, a practice that has garnered both support and criticism. Supporters argue this reduces the psychological suffering of the condemned, while critics contend it amounts to a form of psychological torture, leaving prisoners in a constant state of anxiety about their impending death. Family members, legal representatives, and the public are not informed of the execution date in advance. It is only after the sentence has been carried out that they are notified, a policy that once again has been a subject of international debate. The secrecy surrounding the process, the suddenness of the executions, and the stringent criteria for imposing a death sentence all form part of the modern-day execution process in Japan. A process steeped in tradition, controversy, and a firm belief in the ultimate form of justice. Despite international criticism, Japan continues to enforce the death penalty. It is a testament to the country's unwavering belief in its justice system and its commitment to upholding the principles it deems essential for societal order and harmony. Public support for capital punishment in Japan is surprisingly high. Let's delve a bit deeper into this. A poll conducted in 2019 revealed a striking statistic. A whopping 80.8% of respondents in Japan voiced their support for the death penalty. This is not just a slight majority, but a significant portion of the population. Now, it's important to put this into perspective. Japan is not alone in its use of capital punishment. In fact, it stands as one of 4 developed nations that still practice this form of justice. This places Japan in a unique position on the global stage, where many developed countries have moved away from capital punishment. But why is this? Well, the reasons are likely as varied as the individuals who comprise the 80.8%. Some may view it as a fitting punishment for the most heinous crimes, while others may believe it serves as an effective deterrent. Whatever the reasons, it's clear that capital punishment, for the time being, has a firm place in Japan's justice system. However, as with any societal issue, opinions can shift and change over time. The debate on the morality and effectiveness of capital punishment continues, but for now, the death penalty remains a part of Japan's justice system.